Hello, everybody. So I'm really excited to have Dr. Adriana Bankston here with us today and telling us more about the Journal of Science Policy and Governance. Dr. Bankston, welcome to SAI TV.
Thanks very much for inviting me.
So let's just get going. Tell us more about JSPG. What does it do?
Sure. So JSPG, we're an international open access and peer reviewed journal. We publish policy papers from early career researchers, which is really unique, includes postdocs, students, policy fellows, early career professionals who are sort of 5 years out of their degree. And we publish both. We have 2 standard issues a year and 2 to 4 special topics with a number of both the US and international partners. But one thing to emphasize is that we really want to be more than just a journal in terms of providing professional development opportunities for trainees to learn skills in policy research and writing and leverage published work towards advancing their careers in policy. And so in addition to publications, we offer opportunities to engage with the journal that are through the editorial board and also through our new ambassador program, which I can describe, but there are a number of opportunities and ways to engage both publishing and other ways.
Fantastic. And if I get this correctly, the journal that is, just celebrated your 10th anniversary. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, at the end of June. Very
That's
exciting.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So what did you learn? What have you learned the past 10 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I've been trying to really emphasize as a CEO is to really think about our international engagement. That sort of takes stock of the number of issues and volumes we've published, the partnerships we've had, and where we want to grow. And at this point, we're quite spread out in terms of different countries and sectors, but really looking at where we're going to go from here, right, at this point. And also after a year or so in my position here and where I want to go and what to do sort of with the rest of my time here. That's really one big direction, is to try and expand some of our international engagement more. We've worked with specific organizations like nonprofits and foundations, scientific societies. And so really thinking about what other sectors we want to go into and our partnerships in terms of different organizations that we haven't worked with as well.
So growth. That's
Yeah.
been what I'm hearing from you, which I think has been fantastic. And so how many people, staff that is, are with JSPG at the moment?
Yeah, so it's a small staff, less than 10, includes myself, a few directors, and a couple of managers for the ambassador program. We have 3 advisors who provide strategic direction, discuss fundraising and our international expansion. And then we have our, as I mentioned, the relatively new ambassador program, sort of on the staff side, which is undergrads and grad students working with directors. And then we have an editorial branch, which is again managed by an editor-in-chief, 2 assistant editors-in-chief for standards and special editions. Our board on the editorial side again is early career grad students and postdocs, which is valuable for them. And then we have the sort of higher level board, governing board, which is composed of leading science policy scholars and practitioners who help again with strategy and fundraising. And then we have an advisory board, which is more sort of an honorary title, really has distinguished leaders in the field who are also champions for our cause and have helped in their circles as well. So it's a good structure. I think that's evolved over time, and that's something that I inherited when I came on, that there was already the structure in place for me to kind of plug into and grow in other directions that I was interested in terms of more professional development or events. This ambassador program is relatively new, again, like trying to think of other ways for trainees to engage with us that are not just publishing, but really building this sort of community of folks around policy and growing the next generation in the field.
So you're more than just a journal, right? You have all these other satellite things that you're trying to do. And so what does impact mean for you?
Yeah, I think impact, I would say, because we are an international journal, is really what I would like to see is being in, really all over the world and getting submissions from everywhere. We sort of know kind of where the gaps are now, and with the sort of a analysis of the past 10 years and where we're getting submissions from and which countries we need to target. I think it also means really thinking about what happens after publication. So that's another sort of direction, is we're not just going to be a PDF online. How do we leverage the ideas? We've been trying to build relationships with policymakers. We've had a few students actually go to DC and talk about their publication with Hill staff. I really want to think about ways to how to leverage what's published, not just online, but really get out there and these ideas being discussed. We so trying to build some of this sort of media engagement as well. We've had a few universities highlight students who were at their school and say that they published in the journal, and how do we really leverage this to where we actually are getting media attention as well for published work, because it is very timely. We try to sort of be in tune with what's happening, the policy conversations that are going on globally, and do, for example, special topics issues on those ideas. But then really want to get the ideas of young people out there, because they're the future, and they're they actually should be driving the field, which isn't quite happening now, or sort of a PDF online won't do that, right? So I think the impact for me is giving them a platform to speak about published issues, giving them a potentially media outlet that highlights their work. We have a podcast where they can speak. We try to submit some of their publications to conferences. So we do author panels, which is not as easy for students to get those opportunities, but we try to provide that through the journal. So really, this is, I think, going to be a part of the future, is really leveraging what's published and getting that into sort of the conversations that are ongoing now.
Yeah, into from publication into also implementation, right? Action oriented things that you can track, right, as a journal. And
yeah,
I think for any other CEOs in this space, right, running journals or publication, that's always a challenging thing, measuring just beyond the eyeballs, right, on the reading material. And I'm curious, who are the readers? Do you keep track of that?
That's something else we probably could do better. It's really this balance of providing this professional development opportunities doesn't necessarily have the endpoint in mind. It's sort of, you want to teach students how to write. So we do workshops and these sorts of things. And then the other side is we definitely have had, I think it's a mix. We've had folks in universities read it, and I'm actually hoping that authors can sort of leverage this and maybe do journal clubs and present the papers, that sort of thing. So academics, other students who are learning policy, it's been used in classrooms, which is interesting to hear. That actually the publications are useful sort of for teaching policy concepts and ideas and questions. And so I think the academic community can benefit from JSPG being a resource. And also we've heard, as I said recently, that we've had some authors go to DC and talk to policymakers about their papers. And so they also mentioned that, they actually read the publication, and which is why it has the different formats that we have, because we really want to be accessible to policymakers as well. So it's sort of a mix, because it is more of an academic type of journal in a way compared to magazine type, but it's still accessible to these other audiences that we're trying to reach, right?
Yeah, and that's a challenge,
so,
I think, right? Being online and knowing who's reading. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you may have an intentional audience member, right, that actually sees value in what is being published. And the publishers themselves, who are they? Can you give us a short spiel there, and who tend to be the writers of these articles?
Yeah, so a lot of students, I think majority graduate students and postdocs. We've had a few folks who are sort of fellows starting out and doing a SSS fellowship or something like that. And they really, I think, it's useful for them to use these publications when they apply for fellowships and really get started in the field, which you're really trying to catalyze, right? This sort of their transition from the field, from the lab, because a lot of them are in the sciences and transition. But it's been interesting too, because we've seen also different kinds of fellows who are sort of in, defense or other areas or energy, and they really want to publish these ideas that may or may not be related to what they do day to day, or if they do research in the lab, they may want to publish on something else, and then kind of leverage again the journal for their careers in policy. So that's sort of the part of the goal here.
I see. And so help me out here. So let's say I'm a student, I'm interested in publishing something, an idea. How does it work exactly? Just walk us through that quick pipeline, if you will. Some people watching this who are interested in submitting something.
Yeah, so as I said, we have deadlines multiple times a year. Our standard issues are open twice a year. May and November are the deadlines. You'll see that online. That's open for submission. The special topics are really targeted to, as I said, sort of conversations that are ongoing. And so 2023, still working out what that will be. But a lot of it is actually driven by what young people are also interested in writing about, like science diplomacy was one. And so I think stay tuned for that. We'll definitely have at least 2 special issues. I'm hoping 4, probably more than 4 is too many, but the deadlines are sort of spread out during the year, and then we organize these events leading up to the submission deadline, which is writing workshops, webinars, to provide opportunities to learn how to write. So if you attend the writing workshops, we go through an outline, we teach you how to write a sort of paper outline on a topic. A lot of students kind of organically work with folks who are in the workshop, and they write a paper together. That's an option. And then our webinars are really topical discussions with experts in the field, talking about that specific area. So if I was a grad student and want to write about open science, for example, I listen to the webinar to see what the latest ideas are, come to the workshop so I can think about how to write my paper, maybe gain some collaborators from that and submit. We do provide feedback through the peer review process as well. And so even if your paper gets rejected, we try to, because again, the educational nature of the journal, I think we do more to kind of help and educate folks who want to resubmit or say, here's what we think you should do better. That of course happens during the peer review process as well, but there's a lot of assistance, I think, along the way as you're preparing and thinking about ideas and ways you can reach out to us. And we've also had students email us and say, I have an idea, is this a good fit? We're happy to respond to that.
Yeah, I think I love that there's so much engagement that is there between the writers and those who are in your staff, for example. And this gets me, and as we wrap this conversation today, and of course we can keep talking forever, Adriana. As a CEO, I'm just curious if you can share with our viewers, how have you handled this? Because you wear several hats, and JSPG is just one of them. So how do you manage balance, if that's the right word, your various activities?
Yeah, I think now more than a year in, you sort of have a rhythm of, we've optimized our internal processes. We have a project manager, all the different things and ways that we work together. I think the growth at this point will help in that I'm trying to give the directors a little more freedom. With it, of course, we have sort of, we all kind of know what the major goals are, but for me, it's been I've been very much in the weeds of everything, and so trying to step back and say, okay, where, looking at the next 10 years, right, where is that going to look like, and trying to then create more leadership within the organization so the directors sort of can run their different areas. And then I think, like I said, the structure that we have, I think, is helpful as the editorial team sort of does their thing. They can do the editing process. Bringing the ambassadors on is, again, another opportunity, but again, hoping that's somewhat independent to where things sort of can be running in the background. Other than that, this has really, been and I always say this in interviews, that it's really been a lifelong mission for me to help the next generation and empower them in science and in policy. And so it's easy to do that when you're really motivated, beyond the sort of practical side of things. But this is really what drives me, when I see students succeed and get a fellowship, say that, the publication was useful for their application, see them, get a job in the field, talk about their publications. Again, we provide the platform, and then sort of, they can do the panel, and I'm sort of in the background. So that's really, trying to drive their growth and, again, their ideas getting out there. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
I think you did. I think, following your passion, and I think that's a wonderful place to wrap up this first conversation. I think we're going to have you back here in no time, Adriana, to chat some more about JSPG and about the work it's doing, and maybe next time we're going to have one of the authors actually join us in conversation as well. So for those viewers, again, this was wonderful chat. We were chatting with Dr. Adriana Bankston, the CEO of JSPG. And actually, are you currently hiring, or is that wrapped up already?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Probably in 2023. Again, stay tuned. We are looking for editors right now, still, for the rest of August. The ambassador program is just the pilot for the year, but we'll likely do it again next year. So yeah, stay tuned for more opportunities. 2023.
Lots of staying tuned there, and I love that. Staying tuned for more. So thank you for watching SAI TV, and stay tuned for another chat soon enough with another CEO. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.